Today's concept is arrays in Java. So why in Java I said, because arrays is slightly different from C language in Java. So what the difference means? First of all, the definition is same. So what is the definition? So here the definition is nothing but collection of elements stored in single variable of same type. Okay, so collection of elements stored in single variable of same type, or collection of homogeneous elements is nothing but an array. Okay, and arrays are classified into two types. One is single dimensional array and second is two dimensional array. So what do you mean by single dimensional array? It's a collection of homogeneous elements, you can say the same thing, right? But how we are declaring this single dimension array, that's the difference. If you see, in C language we used to declare an array by using the size, right? Int a of 5. Here the 5 indicates how many locations it should occupy. But C++ are compile time memory allocation. Like C++ are compile time memory allocation, right? Whereas Java, everything happens at runtime, right? Java, everything happens or allocated at runtime. So how we are declaring an array in Java and how we are allocating the memory, that's the first point you have to see. So what is the first thing? How to declare an array. First, for declaration we have the syntax. It's nothing but first one will be int, or you can say data type, and the variable, then the particular parenthesis. We don't mention any size inside the square brackets because here the size is not mentioned at compile time, it's given at runtime. So in order to give the size at runtime we have to use new keyword, because new keyword allocates the memory at runtime. And second thing, how we can declare an array? Three types are there. So what the second type is nothing but data type space, give the square brackets, without any space give the variable. This is the second way of declaring an array. And third, data type square brackets without any space, then give a space and then the variable. So here three types of declarations can be done in an array, right? And this is just declaration. How we have to allocate the memory, that is the next step. So first you can see an example for all these things, like int a, or you can say float, some square brackets and some x you can give, or if you want to have, you can have a long square brackets and then you can say some p. So this is a way of declaring an example of an array. Now, how to allocate the memory for array? It's nothing but just we have to use the syntax. So the syntax you can say first data type, then the variable equals to new data type and the size. So here we are giving the size in the square brackets itself. Okay. So what is the example of this? It's nothing but int a equals to new int of 5. That 5 particular memory blocks have been allocated. Okay. So now the next way it can be one more way, like or data type the variable with the square brackets, then the variable equals to new data type, that is the size. Just dividing the upper part in two types, like two lines. So what is an example you can take? Here int we have a, that a equals to new int of 5 or any block of elements. So this is how you are declaring or allocating the memory by using new keyword. Because when JVM executes this new keyword, the memory is getting allocated for the array of integer type. How many blocks? 5 blocks. That's the first thing you have to understand. Now, how we are giving the input in Java? We use scanner class to convert the string values into required format and to take the values, right? So where this scanner class is present? It's present in a package known as java.util.scanner. So here we have to import a package. In the first line of a program, every program must contain the import things. So import java.util.scanner you can give, or either you can give a star. The star indicates all the particular classes in that util package. Now the second thing, class array demo. I just want to write a particular array program. Okay. So here in this array demo, I'm just having public static void main. So directly in public static void main, I'm having a string args. I'm just explaining a concept of array, right? So I want to write the programs in this public static void main itself. Okay. So here int, I'm taking some a equals to new int. How much? 5 elements are given. Now to indicate these 5 elements, we have an index. Like in arrays, you use index a of 0 and a of 1 you can say. So here a of 2, a of 3, like that. So what's happening here? The index is starting from 0 and it will go on increase by 1. So what you see here, I can give this particular 0 index in a variable known as I. So every time the difference is 1, means if I increment I, like if I do I plus plus, then I can increase the value. Till what means till a given condition like I less than or equals to 5 or I less than 5, like that. Okay. So what you understand here? Whenever you are using arrays concept, you have to use loops concept also, where the repetition occurs. And this loops concept, we have three things. Like first is while loop, do while, and for loop. Among this while loop, do while, and for loop, we can use for loop. Why for loop is better? Because initialization, condition, increment or decrement is done in a single line. And here, if you see, I can use a for loop. So how to write the for loop? We have for int. I'm declaring the variable inside the for loop itself. Int I equals to 0. The index is 0 because array starts from 0 onwards. I less than 5. So 0 to 5, it will be like 0 to 4, it will be like 5 elements, right? So I plus plus. This is one for loop, right? So if you're getting confused, just give this for loop a tab space. In that first thing I'm doing, I want to access the values, right? So for that accessing of values, I'm creating scanner object. Scanner sc equals a new scanner, that system dot in we can write. Okay, and in this I need the scanner methods. For the scanner method, next int, which converts the string input into, you can say it as what, integer format. And here what you can see, a equals to, if I say just sc dot next int, like sc dot next int, then only one value will be assigned here in the a variable. But what I want a of 0 one value, a of 1, a of 2, and a of 3, like that, right? So in order to indicate that, we have to use the square brackets, and the square brackets value will be I. Here I value will be substituted, like I is 0 first, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Okay, and what I'm doing here in this step, I'm giving the value. So I can say system dot out dot println, enter array elements. So I'm just entering the array elements, right? And here first for loop is done for the input part, right? But suppose consider I'm printing here itself system dot out dot println a of I. So what's happening here? I just want to print this thing as array demo dot java. So this array demo dot java is nothing but, we have E drive. In E drive we have programs at D drive. We have programs folder in that array demo dot java. Okay, so cd space programs, so java c space, you can say it as array demo dot java, and java space array demo. Enter array elements, it's saying 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So what's happening here? This 10, when you are entering, it's printed at the same line itself, right? And in entering 20, that 20 is printed at the same line. So what's happening here? When you give the input and output in a single for loop, input is given and output is printed at the same line, right? So for that reason, I want it separate. Like first enter the values. Then after entering the values, you have to print them at a time, right? So I'll just remove this line, and after this I'll have one more for loop. Like for int I equals to 0, I less than 5, so I plus plus, right? So whatever that line I've copied, I'm pasting it, and next I'm just displaying this thing, right? So what's happening here? System.out.println a of I. So two loops I've used, one for the input and one for the output. It's not that without using you can't print. You can print, but what's happening here? After the input, directly the output is getting displayed, right? So to overcome that, we are using two loops. Now, Java C space arraydemo.java, then we say Java space arraydemo. So what is happening here? Array elements we are entering like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So what's happening here? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 are displayed one after the other lines. Okay. So here after that I want to display in the index format. So what's there in the index format means a of 0, a of 1, a of 2 and a of 3. Consider if I use the double quotes, the string to give the value like a of I equals to, a of I equals to, right? So what's happening here? That I is a message. A of in the square brackets whatever you're giving will be displayed as it is. Like if I save this thing, if I compile again array demo.java, then array demo. So what's happening here? I'm entering the elements like 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I'm not getting the index, I'm getting the I because I have given it as it is in the double quotes. What I want, instead of I want the value. So what I said, whenever you want to differentiate the string and the variable, we should have a plus symbol, that is a concatenation operator, right? So here, first I'll keep a double quotes, then a plus. There's a variable now. But right side also, we have to keep what? A double quotes. And before the double quotes, a plus. So what's happening? Whatever we are writing in the double quotes is a string, which will be printed as it is. And outside the double quotes, if you are giving a variable, we are differentiating with a plus symbol. So now again this is a string. So here it will print line by line, step by step you can say. So if I compile again and save again 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So what's happening? A of 0. You got this in index format, right? A of 0, A of 1, A of 2, A of 3 and A of 4. You can take any values. It's not mandated to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any 5 elements can be taken in this an array. Okay? So this is what you're accepting an array and you're displaying. But just the slight difference is in C language the size is given at compile time, like here in A of 5. But in Java everything happens at runtime. So we use a new keyword to allocate the memory for an array also. Okay. So here 5 blocks of elements of integer type are occupied by this A, and the scanner is used to give the input at runtime. Just you have to call the methods. Why nextInt? Because nextInt is a method which converts the string into integer, right? And here we are just displaying these values. So save this thing, it's done. Consider Instead of giving it 5, I have given it as 6. Actually, we have 5 variables, 5 inputs have been given, that 5 locations, not variables, and I'm trying to print 6 values, but we don't have the 6 value, right? So what the compiler will do? Will it give error? Here, I'm not getting any error, right? It's compiled fine. A dot class file has generated, and when I'm running this thing, when you give the values like 1, 2, then what's happening here? 5 values has been taken, and after that whatever the value you are trying to print, you got an exception. So what do you mean by exception? It will be cleared at the time of an exception handling concept. You can say, for a simple understanding, it's an abnormal termination. Abnormal means the program has been terminated to this because of that line 12 where array index out of bound exception is occurring. So I don't know how many values are there. Then how to print the values? It's just that we have a keyword known as length. Now this is an interview question, you can say. Like length versus a length method. So what is this length method and what is this length keyword? Length keyword can be used by arrays. If you see, length keyword will be used by arrays, and length method can be used by strings. So two things, right? So what is arrays? Like whatever the type might be, if you're using this length keyword, you can know how many elements are there, or the size of an array can be known by using this length keyword. So what's the variable a dot, what's that keyword? Length. So length, length keyword. Now the same program, if I'm compiling again, so like here, and giving the values 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, I'm getting the values one by one, one by one, one by one, right? So without knowing the size also, we can get the values. That is the length keyword advantage, right? So this is a single dimension array we have seen, and whenever use an array, we have to use a loop concept. For input one loop, for output one loop, you can consider that. Okay, and here we have a concept known as command line arguments. I said at the time of arrays it will be clear, right? That is the string args concept, where here I'll just explain what is command line arguments. Nothing but when you run a particular class like Java space array demo, right? After the space, you can give some parameters. Like if I'm giving some words like hello and a space and a world. Okay. So what's happening here? This Java is an interpreter which is executing this array demo class, which is giving to JVM, and these two hello world are two values, two parameters, two array values of string type which are given to main as a parameter. Okay, means if I just have this concept, like I'll just make this as command line arguments. What I'm trying to do, instead of taking any variable, I'll just take it as args, because here the variable name is what? Args. It's a user defined name actually. If you want, you can change this also. Like instead of args, if you want AR also, you can take it. Like I'm taking any name, you can take it. It's a user defined. Only the args is a user defined. You can't change the other things. Okay. So here, AR dot length is the one more keyword, which is the size of an array. Okay. And now the same I'm printing here, AR of I. I just don't want any index. Just save this thing. Yeah, just save this thing. Now if I just compile the same thing again, what will happen? So the Java C space array demo dot Java, right? If I click here, it will compile and generate a dot class file. When I say array demo, what's happening here? It didn't print anything, right? Because I haven't given any parameters. So how to give the parameters? It's nothing but after the array demo, if I am giving any value like hello, it's a single parameter. So one time it has printed. If I say hello world, so what's happening? Line by line. Or you can say Rahul 1023. This 12023 is also what? It is also an integer, but considered as a string format because it's a string argument. So it's printing line by line. But suppose consider I want the name. It's getting printed in a separate line, right? I want in a single thing. So what you can say, give double quotes. Here double quotes has been given. Again one more double quote. Enter. So here when you give double quotes, it will take it as a single value. So this is thing one parameter. This is second parameter. How you are able to print it? Because of the length keyword. You don't know how many elements are there. But this length keyword will give the size of the elements. That's it. Okay. And here this concept is nothing but command line arguments. Means at command prompt we are giving some arguments of string type which are taken by the program and they are getting displayed here. Okay. So this entire thing is a command line argument. Okay. So next, after this, we have one more concept known as for each loop. Like command line argument has been done. We have a concept known as what? For each loop. Or you can say enhanced for loop. What is that? For each loop or enhanced for loop. And next, what do you mean by this concept? We have seen for loop where we have initialization like I equals to 0 or I less than or equals or I less than AR dot length or I plus plus. So what's happening here? Initialization, condition and increment or decrement. Three things has been written. This enhanced for loop will reduce even further. Means for a syntax if you take, it's nothing but for the data type, whatever the data type you want to use, you can use it. The variable, normal variable you can say, and the array. So whatever the array variable name is there, right? Array name. That's it. If you want, you can use that particular variable to display or anything. Okay. So here the same thing, I'll write it for this particular command line argument. Like for we have used, right? Instead of using the entire thing, I'll use the command line argument. How? First, I'll just use the string because we are on string type of values, right? String A is just say colon and then AR. What is that AR? It's nothing but the string array argument, right? And here system dot out dot println, and this println and just printing the A, one after the other, you can say, right? So if I just clear this thing, compile it again and give the value, what's happening here? In the same format, you are getting the output like for loop itself, right? But I have reduced the initialization, increment or decrement, and condition. These three things has been reduced now. Okay, so that's the advantage of for each loop, or you can say enhanced for loop. So now after this command line argument and enhanced for loop, the last topic you can say is what? Two-dimensional array. We have already seen single dimension array, then it's similar to that, just the dimension increases. Like for one dimension or single dimension, you have given one square brackets, right? And for two dimensions, you can say like twice I am giving the square brackets, open and close square brackets, right? So for one dimension, you can say one for loop has been used, right? One for loop. And for the two dimensions, like here, two for loops, right? And for the three for dimensions, you can use three for loops. So how many dimensions will be there? That many number of for loops we have to use. Okay. So just we have one more thing, like how to declare the two-dimension array. Right? In this two-dimension array, how to declare, right? The syntax is nothing but it's similar. Just we have to say data type, the variable, that's it. Or you can say data type, give the square brackets here and the variable here. Or the data type, give a space, square brackets, then the variable. Three different ways of declaring two dimension. It's quite similar to single dimension, right? Just a dimension is getting changed or increased. Okay, and how to allocate memory. So we are allocating the memory same way, just data type, the variable equals to new, the data type, row size will be the first thing and column size will be the second thing, right? So two different things we have. And now how to take an example? It's simple. Just say int a of twice, then again you can take it as what? Int 2 of 2. So 2 rows, 2 columns, you can say. You can represent this in a matrix format. The first indicates the row and the second indicates the column size. Okay, and if we have the same thing and the same thing, I want to write the two-dimensional array program. Like here, I'll just say int a new int of 2 of 2. So for one dimension, one for loop. Two dimensions, two for loops. So you have to create scanner object. S equals to new scanner. system dot in. Okay, so here system dot in. So for what I'm giving here, first for loop is I, like I indicates 0, I equals to 0, I less than 2, I plus plus. If you want, you can use the length keyword also, right? So the dimensions are nothing but here, like A, there is one dimension and there is a second dimension. For those, the row and size is given here, 2 rows, 2 columns. Okay, so next the variable is what? A equals to sc dot next int. But here you can't use a single variable A, we have to use the index also. What is that index? 2 dimension, means 2 dimensions must be there, but we have given only one for loop, right? So how to overcome this? We have to mention one more. That's the most important thing I said. So first int j equals to 0, j less than 2 and j plus plus. So two for loops we have opened, and in this a of I, first dimension row size, a of j, second dimension column size. Here sc dot next int. That's the same thing you can say. Have you ever seen a matrix? How the matrix will be there? Like you can consider it as 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? So how we represent them? Like here 0, first 0 row, first column, right? You can represent it as here, like say R. This entire thing is what? Row. Okay, we'll represent in this format. In the same way, it will be there for the upper part. Like what? 0th column and first column, right? This entire thing will be there in this format. So if I want to represent 1, how we are representing 1? By using row and column. So what's the row? 0th row, 0th column is what? 1, right? Here you can say directly this 0 and this 0 indicates the 1, right? Now how to indicate that second row or second value? A of 0, 0th row, first column is twice 2 value, right? And what do you have next? A of first row, 0th column is 3, 3 of 4, 3. And how to indicate the next thing? A of 1 equals to 4. So 4 values has been given, right? Now how to display them? It's a quite simple thing. Again you have to write 2 for loops. I'll just write it in a single line here. And you forgot to write a system dot out dot println. What is the message you have to write? Enter 2-dimension array or enter matrix elements. Just I'm representing the term here, right? I want to display them. How to display? System dot out dot println. Alright, a of I j. Just give 2 flower brackets. Why? Because we have opened it here. So while writing also give the tab space. Why I'm giving tab space? So that the flower brackets will be clear. You have to open for array demo public static void main. You have to close it here too twice. If you are getting confused, you can write it here. Like here, it's the main thing we are closing. Here, it's the class array demo, like that. So here, for loop, we can say. Here, for loop is getting ended. In this format also you can write it so that you can understand, right, where it is getting closed. So save this thing. Now compile. How to compile? Java C space array demo, Java space array demo. enter the matrix element 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it's getting 1, 2, 3, 4. But how it's getting printed? In a single line, right? The same thing we can get it using single dimension array also, right? Then what is the use of two dimension? The most important difference is nothing but single dimension array takes one by one, whereas two dimension array takes in the form of rows and columns. Means here we have a row, we have a column. In order to display the index, how we display? Like give a double quote, A of ij. What will happen? The same ij will be printed as it is, right? It won't print the value. How to print the value? Give a plus after the double quotes. Before the double quotes, give a plus. Again, before the j, give a plus. So that it's a variable now. So plus and the double quotes, right? So if you want to just practice while giving it at a time. Okay. Now save this thing and compile and run 1, 2, 3 and 4. We are getting the index, but again it's in a one by one format, line by line. Index is correct, but it's in line by line. I don't want in line by line, right? So what's happening here? When I'm having I, this 0 indicates what? I. When I is 0, when again I is 0, it's in a single line. But when I becomes 1, like what? When the loop is repeated, when it is changing, then it's coming into the next line, right? So you have to understand that here when I is 0, j is 0, if you use the println, it will print line by line itself every time. But in print string, we have one more method known as print. What this print will do? It will print in a single line. Like here Java array, just give this 1, 2, 3 and 4. But what's happening here? If it's entirely printing in a single line, it's clumsy and it's not in rows and columns again. What I want a row, first 1 and 2, then next line 3 and next line 4, right? Side by side, 3 and 4. So to achieve this, after this first for loop, when it goes to increment that I, before going, I'll write a line system dot out dot just println. No need to write anything in that because the line println indicates it's the next line. So now if you see after this entire thing, save this thing and just giving a space. Now compile it again and run it again. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So what's happening here? This 1, 2, 3 and 4. It's coming in a matrix format, rows and columns, right? So this entire thing is nothing but two-dimensional array. For accessing and displaying, we need two for loops. Again, two for loops for displaying. And the most important thing is this slash n. How to give the slash n is nothing but by calling the println and this print when it is two-dimensional. Because if you see that market list or the flight list, it will be in the rows and columns. So whatever the details you want to display in rows and columns, then you have to go for this two-dimensional array itself. Okay, that's the concept we have to follow. So that's the end of this array concept entirely. And if you have one more dimension, you had one more for loop, you can say. Okay, so